Hello and welcome back to the channel to another of my interview series. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing a little bit of critical thinking. It's 6 weeks now until the great coronation of King Charles III. And what better time to start thinking about the man and that whole coronation procedure and of course the oath. Now I've got this delightful book which you may remember in a video that we did fairly recently, Light Bulb Moments, The Power of Critical Thinking. And one of the authors of that, the main author, was Gloria, who is a professor and author, of course, and she's had 70 peer-reviewed papers. She's also a valued researcher at the Hardwick Alliance for Real Ecology. Also joining me is Justin Walker. He's been a guest on the show before. He is also a co-founder of the Hardwick Alliance for Real Ecology. So we thought we would just ask some questions and debate the whole subject. So welcome both of you to the show. We've got Justin is up on there first of all. Hello, Justin.
Hello, Richard, again. Nice to see you.
Thanks for coming along. And Gloria, hello to you, Gloria.
Good afternoon, Richard.
Lovely
Pleasure to be back.
Thank you so much. I know a lot of people are interested, concerned, slightly apprehensive. It's something that most people, I suppose, unless they're over, 70 or something, will not have witnessed a coronation. It's not certainly something new to me. And so it's worth asking questions and delving into what's it all about and what does it really mean? Is it just pomp and circumstance, or is there more to it, including, of course, the oath? So, Gloria,
well, shall I go in first?
Yes,
the
please do.
coronation oath. Well, that is where the king basically says he's going to follow the laws and customs of the country, and the laws and customs relate to our common law constitution, which your guest William Keat, who again for the Hardwick Alliance has done superb research. The common law constitution is essential because that is the, if you like, the final protection for the people against overreach by politicians and parliament and so forth. But the king is also there to protect us, and the king can literally not give his royal assent for something if he believes it's going to harm, that legislation is going to harm the people. So it's absolutely crucial that King Charles III takes his oath to support the common law constitution of our country. However, he is on record at supporting the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset. And they have a program which is going to take us down a path which is similar to communist China, where we're going to be in a digital prison. And this is now being assembled by the technocrats and by the billionaire megalomaniacs at Davos. And the king is presently very much in favor of what they're doing. So something's got to give. He can't support the common law constitution and support his friends at Davos. No. Something's got to give. We've already written, and we've covered it before, we've already written to the Earl Marshal, which is the Duke of Norfolk, and we want a royal retraction.
What's been the response? People have actually asked me about the letter to the Duke of Norfolk.
The letter seemingly has gone viral, and it's done well, but we've had no response at all from the Duke.
Right.
And he will be getting a reminder very shortly, a very pleasant reminder. He's a very nice chap, apparently, very nice. But obviously we are concerned. We haven't seen sight of the new oath, the oath that the King Charles is going to take. And that, we believe, is being prepared by the Cabinet Office. I don't know if it's gone to Buckingham Palace yet, but I was looking up on the internet and there's no sign of it anywhere. They still relate back to the previous oath given in 1953. So we haven't seen the wording of the new oath to come.
And would we naturally expect to see that before the event? The public? Would the public?
Well, I wasn't around in 1950.
No. This is it. This is it. If anyone can remember, because the internet
I know I've got grey hair,
either.
But it's not that grey. Well, yes, no. The truth is, I don't know. But I was talking to a contact at Lambeth Palace, and they felt it was about this time that it should be coming out. It should be for people to see.
Yes.
I mean, it is an important part of the ceremony.
And
of the
we do
coronation.
live in a digital age in which it's, with the internet wasn't around back then, but now it is, and people who are interested can go and read it and think, yeah, that's appropriate or
Yeah,
not, as the case may be.
yeah. Well, as I said, I'm hoping any day now we'll get sight of it, and then we'll see if there's any slight changes, which could mean, well, we may have a problem or two or whatever. But the important thing is the king at the moment has got to uphold the common law constitution of this country. We are a common law country, and we want him to retract his involvement with the fake green, Davos
Mm.
agenda, which all the net zero and all the rest of it that people are waking up to, because with these 50-minute cities and everything, people are now waking up. There's something a bit sinister going on. So the king has got to confirm that he is on the side of the people, and that's what the coronation will do.
So, Gloria, in the past, of course, we had our beloved Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, who went through the whole process, and we've got some footage of that, which we're going to show a little bit in a moment. But there's interesting questions about the old oath. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, yes, applying our critical thinking.
Mm.
And if I could just refer us to no lesser institution than the BBC, surprise, surprise, on their bite-sized pages, they define critical thinking as involving questioning rather than simply accepting information. So, in the spirit of that today, we're going to just take a little journey through what we know about coronation oaths, past and present. And Charles himself, King Charles, in 2021, he actually said that if you become the sovereign, then you play the role in the way that is expected.
Right.
Sounds fine. So the question for us really is, what is expected? And well, according to a report that came out only last month, actually, February, it was produced for the House of Commons by somebody called Torrance. The coronation has huge, absolutely huge constitutional importance. And central in that coronation is actually the oath that Justin has just been talking about, that we haven't had sight of yet. And according to Torrance, who wrote this report for the House of Commons Library, it is the oath that is the only part of the whole of the coronation ceremony that is actually required by law.
Oh,
So
right.
if you just focus on that, the oath element today. And well, it's very interesting. I did a little bit of research on this and found that we know quite a lot about the oath going way back to William the Conqueror. And William the Conqueror and Henry the First and Henry the Second and Stephen, mustn't neglect Stephen and Matilda, they all signed up to doing three things. And one was to preserving the peace. I think we could do with some of that today,
We
perhaps.
certainly could.
Secondly, they swore to maintain good laws. Perhaps we could do with a bit of that as well. And thirdly, they agreed to dispense justice. Well, perhaps, again, that's something that we could.
All very laudable, isn't it?
Yeah, all very laudable. And then Edward II came on the scene and was crowned in 1309. And that's very interesting because that is the first official record we have of any coronation oath. That's the coronation oath of Edward II in 1309. And he followed suit with his predecessors with those three elements I mentioned, and he added a fourth element, which Justin has already referred to. He added the fourth element, last but by no means least, he added to his coronation oath a duty of following the laws and customs of this country. And in fact, that aspect of the oath has remained in coronation oaths from Edward II's time right up until 1689, which is a sweep of history of almost 400 years.
Right.
So there's a long history of monarchs in Britain swearing to uphold the laws and oaths. the oaths and customs
Yes.
of this country. Now, if we could just bring into the picture a
Yes.
worthy gentleman from the 13th century. I mean, Edward's coronation was right at the beginning of the 14th century. So um, shortly behind him, there was a worthy jurist, some people say the leading jurist of his day, one Henry de Bracton. And Henry wrote, actually, would you believe it, wrote a treatise on common law. So he knew a thing or two about common law.
Oh, right.
Mm. Now, he said two very interesting things, which gives us a steer on what we might be referring to with this word customs, laws and customs, that Edward II and subsequent monarchs signed up to. And what Henry said was that the English hold many things by custom, which they don't necessarily hold by law, which is rather interesting. And he went on to say that kings need only to have allowed the custom for it to be granted. So he gives, this is Henry de Bracton, the jurist, he puts a lot of weight behind customs. And in saying that kings sanctify custom with their authority, he actually brings Magna Carta into the frame as an element in the laws and customs that monarchs from Edward II's time have sworn to abide by. This is very significant because, of course, Magna Carta, as Justin will bear out, and William Keith, I imagine, talked about as well, it's still valid today. And Article 39 of Magna Carta gives us the right to be heard before a jury of our peers. Nobody should be fined, no penalty charge notices without a jury of your peers. That's in Article 39 of Magna Carta.
Well, it would be nice if we had that. Would that have been nice?
Nobody should be fined,
there, you know.
Richard.
Yes.
People, if we're not having that, it's because people aren't following.
They're not following the laws and customs, right?
And it's also brought into play Article 61, which in 2001 was actually invoked by 25 barons from the House of Lords. They said that things were not hunky-dory and that they were putting the monarch on notice, that they thought that in signing the country up to the Treaty of Nice, 2001, she was committing treason because that was part of signing powers over to the European Union.
That's really significant because that's very, very recent, you know, because you always think of these things as being, that's just steeped in history, we've moved on, it's all a bit different. But 2001, you know, is 22 years ago.
And moreover, some people say that that's still in play, that when those 25 barons stepped in and said, hang on a minute, they invoked Article 61 of Magna Carta, that is still apparently in play and still to be answered.
Right.
So here we are. We've said that monarchs for close to 400 years swore in their coronation oaths to abide by the laws and customs of this land. And Queen Elizabeth II herself included that phrase, that she swore to abide by the laws and customs of this country. And so we hope very much that those words will appear in King Charles's oath, because there's a sweep of history providing precedent for that. There'd have to be a very good reason, I suspect, for not including those words.
What kind of reason could there be that the king would not be swearing by the laws and customs, which is such a deep tradition in this country? And that's why it's so important to see what the oath is before it happens, because if it's not in there, then it's a bit late after he's said it.
Quite.
Or not said it, as it were.
So with our critical thinking hat on, we thought your viewers might enjoy taking a close look at Queen Elizabeth's coronation oath, which is the most recent one we had, and seeing what lessons we might learn from that, or what we might hope to find in King Charles III's coronation oath. So if we just begin with one one picture. Pictures say 1,000 words. And I think you've got a picture there.
I have.
An image of the abdication oath.
Here it is.
Yep.
So this is, I've blown it up, but I will shrink that down by using special, well, I can scroll, I think, if I have got my mouse in the right place. So there it is.
Implement that's here.
Yeah.
The abdication oath of King Edward VIII.
Yeah.
Who abdicated in 1936. And the reason we're putting this up is because both Justin and I have looked hard and long for images of coronation oaths predating Queen Elizabeth II, and there's scarcely any to be found online. So we thought this is a good proxy for that. It gives you an idea of what an oath, a royal oath, looks like pre-Queen Elizabeth II coronation oath. And you'll notice that there's, if we scroll back up very quickly again, if that's possible, Richard, that there are very important features here. There's a royal crest at the top, then there's a title, what's it say, instrument of abdication, and then as we move down the document, we'll see that there is a date on which this took place, a royal signature below the text, and then to the left, as you can see, witnesses to that signature. So there is 5 elements that we find in this abdication. Now, if we move on from there to Queen Elizabeth II's coronation oath, which is the most recent one we've had, lovely, there we have it. Now, this is the official version, the digitized version of Queen Elizabeth II's coronation oath, and it appeared in the National Archives only last year, actually, in June.
Right.
Yeah.
Gosh, wonder what.
On the occasion of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee.
I see.
And what can you see? Well, we can see that in contrast to Edward VIII, she signs her name above the text.
Yeah.
And there is no date. There are no witnesses. There's no crest. And there's no title to this document.
No.
There is a ribbon.
There is a ribbon. There's just a bit at the top. In fact, let me just, I'll just zoom in so people can see a little bit clearer exactly at the top, the signature at the top. And there we go. Look, there's the ribbon and the signature. But at the bottom, that's it.
No space at the bottom. So that is the official coronation oath document of Queen Elizabeth II, digitized, as I said, last June 2022. Now, this was interesting because before that, I started nosing around, looking around at coronations, because I'm a member of the Hardwick Alliance for Real Ecology, and Justin Walker is a co-founder of that. And he asked me one day, Gloria, would you mind looking into the coronation oath? I thought, well, that'd be interesting. So off I went. And of course, one of the first things you try and do is look for a copy of the coronation oath document. This was pre-June 2022. And at that time, the document you've just seen was not available. Instead, and I don't know if you can show this.
Yep.
Yeah, wonderful. This was the document that it was hard to find, but nonetheless, this was the only document available in early last year online. And your viewers may like to consider in what ways this sort of compare and contrast exercise, in what ways, if any, does this look similar or different indeed from the other document?
I see, yes.
Kick off, Richard,
so in theory, it should be the same document, presumably, but
it is the
same document. I mean,
it is the same document.
You've got the signature at the top, and you've got the ribbon now, which is in a different place, in actual fact. And
I think we should just point out that the fluorescent, the highlighting, the yellow highlighting,
yes,
and the thing saying Exhibit 1, that those are extras put on because this particular document was used in a court case, a constitutional court case back, and that's why. In fact, I found it on an Australian website.
Oh,
So,
right.
so obviously the fluorescent yellow. Ignore that and ignore the Exhibit 1. But what is so clear about the state of this document? It is so distressed. This is an important constitutional document which should be on display, I don't know, in Westminster Abbey or somewhere of national importance for people to go and see such a document. Because this is the document where a monarch pledges to the people to look after them, to protect them, to abide by the laws and customs of the land. Now, that's an extremely important constitutional document. But look at the state of this document. The ribbon is all over the place. What's left is a little tiny piece at the bottom. I'm appalled that such an important constitutional document has been, well, kept in such an appallingly bad condition. Where are the conservators who can come along and make it look nice? The whole thing is a mess.
And absolutely, it's a mess. And equally and importantly, it looks different from the other document. And this is concerning because, as you said, Richard,
that's the first. That's the first one you showed me. I just put it on the screen. That's the first one, and by the magic of magic science, if I come back down here, so that's the second one that you saw on the Australian website, which is supposed to be they were both supposed to be the original, but there's a. Come on, Vobes, get your act together. So there's one. There's the other.
And if you scroll down, moreover.
Yeah.
By the way, before you scroll down, sorry, Richard.
That's all right.
Can you see there's something's been going on behind that ribbon to the right and left of it? There's a sort of white space to the right.
Probably where the ribbon was before.
Yes, so it's been moved along or it's been interfered with in some way, tampered with. So if we now scroll down to the bottom of the text, you'll see, I think, that there is space, a substantial amount of space below the text.
Yes, for a signature
of the document, which is not there, and a little bit of a fragment of ribbon on the left. And that strange sort of white marking that we see at the top. So there's quite a lot of space below the text, which is absent in the other version.
Let's have a look at
you scroll down on that version. You'll see there is no space there. And we were having discussions within Hardwick about this and wondering what had happened to explain this. And somebody who's quite technically minded said that what seems to have happened is that the typeface has been blown up to some extent in this newly digitized version. And either by accident or perhaps by design, one of the effects of that has been to leave very little space at the bottom. And why might that be? And somebody hypothesized that maybe it's to suggest that there wasn't space at the bottom on which the Queen could place her signature. This was a bit of a cynic talking, or perhaps somebody exercising critical thinking, suggesting that maybe this was a device to somehow excuse the rather strange anomaly of the Queen placing her signature above the text rather than below it.
I mean, to me, the whole thing is if you have a common law document or you have a commercial document, you tend to put your signature under what you've committed yourself to. And as I said, as you saw in the application document, you'd then expect to have the witnesses who have witnessed your signature. That is what you'd expect, and there's no date on it. And as Gloria says, there's no headline, there's nothing, no crest, there's nothing grand about this document. But the signature is probably the most intriguing mystery. I know Gloria wants to come on to that, but the actual signature of the Queen's signature on 1953 does not fit in with what we see on film. But I'll let Gloria explain that.
Yes. Well, this was This is, if you like, breaking news, revealed only at a conference that I ran last December, Questioning History conference. But this is the first time that we've brought this information to a wider public. If we all just have a brief look at the signature of either of those two documents, Richard,
Yeah.
we can just observe a couple of things about it. Yeah. So you probably noticed that there's a blotch of ink at the top of the E on Elizabeth.
Oh, yes.
And equally, that there's a slight underline beneath the first three letters of her name.
Let me just have a look at the other one, because I think the other one, in fact,
other
we can
one
put
is-
them. Yeah, the other one is slightly better. Let me just.
Okay.
Which one are we picking up here? This one is. We can blow this one up bigger because the quality is better. There we go.
So if you just focus on the underline for a second, it only comes below the first three letters or so. Now, I was looking around for video footage of this all-important event, which all eyes were on this event in 1953. It cost the nation, in modern terms, equivalent of £19 million. This was a big event. And so you might expect that it would be easy to find video footage of the Queen actually signing her coronation oath. Far from it. It's extremely challenging. But I'm a bit like a dog with a bone. So eventually, I managed to track down a little bit of footage, which I think you can show us now, Richard, which shows the Queen physically in the act of signing her oath. So notice she puts her pen in the inkwell twice, and now she's signing her signature. And then you'll see her place of flourish underneath her signature. And would you say that was a short flourish, as we see in the coronation oath? Or would you say that's a lengthy flourish? Take another one.
Yes, I'm going to see if I can just blow that up whilst she's doing it. She's just coming up to it there. It looked like a big flourish, but I'm just going to blow this up. It's like that 1960s film Blow Up with David Hemmings. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So so I've just paused it here, and we'll come back a bit. And that was a long flourish, wasn't it?
Yeah,
We're
it
all
goes well
agreed.
beyond those three letters. The first three letters goes well beyond.
So here we are with our critical thinking hats on. How can we explain this discrepancy between what we see on the screen and what we see on these two versions of the coronation oath?
Yes. Wow.
Now, are we to assume that there was a pen malfunction that day? I mean, I would say a little bit about this pen. This wasn't just any old pen that you buy in W.H. Smith's. This was a pen that was produced especially for the occasion by the worshipful company of scriveners. That's a venerable company that goes all the way back to 1373.
Wow.
And it was a very special pen indeed. It was made with gold, with enamel, and with gemstones. Now, she dips twice in the ink. Are we to assume that this is a case of pen malfunction, given the amount of effort that went into the creation of this pen? Answers on a postcard, please.
Good bit of critical thinking. It's fascinating, isn't that fascinating? You know, very often you just you see these things, they just wash over you, the grand spectacle of everything, and then you start to hang on and let's look at the detail. And as you say, she definitely does this long line like that, but when you look at it, it's almost as if she stops very suddenly, doesn't she?
There's no continuation of ink. There's nothing there to suggest a malfunction. It's a definite stop.
Let's just look one more time, and then I'll put up the signature again. It is fascinating. So there she goes.
I actually have a Queen's Commission when I was in the Territorial Army, and my signature's at the top of my commission. and she's got the full flourish right across.
And it's so tiny, isn't it? It's just so tiny.
And as Justin said, it almost appears to come to an abrupt end, does it not? Um,
So it's
so
almost as if she's just signing a pretend one, just for show. Just for show, but then maybe later on sign the official one, like you might do in I suppose, at a wedding, you might do something for show, but in the registry office, you do the real thing.
Well, can I show you my actual? I've got the Queen's signature on my commission.
Oh, here we go.
yeah.
Ooh. Say something and then you'll flash up.
Hello, I'm saying something. Are you coming in?
There we
Houston,
go.
there we
Oh,
are.
wow, look at that. There we
There
are.
it is. That's on my commission. And you can see the signature right across the flourish.
She's also signed that at the top.
Yeah, she signed it at the top, which is also, and it's interesting, other people signed at the bottom.
So maybe that was just her thing. Do you think that was just her thing?
Well, it might be. It might be. I don't know if I'm going to get right there. So someone else signed at the bottom, but yeah. So it's an interesting one.
It's like a bit like a whodunit, really.
Yes. So as we look ahead to the coronation of King Charles III,
yes,
as we speak, is scheduled for 6 weeks from now or so.
That's it, something like that.
Yeah, we hope that there are lessons to be learned from what we've seen with coronation oaths going way back to Edward II and right up to Queen Elizabeth II.
I mean, what we want from people really is the two things. We've got to obviously get the importance of the coronation oath out to the general public. So obviously I think you're going to put the links both for Gloria's article, and also for the letter that William and myself sent to the Earl Marshal. And we really want people to push this out as much as possible so people become aware. Because as I said, the last coronation was 70 years ago.
Yes.
This is all new to most people. And we need to get over to people just how important this coronation oath actually is. And we've also got to make people aware that the king has got to do a retraction, because he cannot support the common law constitution and at the same time supporting those who are bringing a tyranny in, a technocracy, which is going to imprison our natural born rights and alienable rights. And something's got to give, and the coronation oath is going to be a real test. And if the king does not retract and he takes the oath, then I'm going to be honest with you, he'll be leaving himself open to a very, very, a massive constitutional crisis. And, I've jokingly said, but only semi-jokingly, he might be faced with a new Runnymede. He might be faced with more barons. Something we've really got to sort this out. And we want to do it in a very friendly, happy way. We don't want confrontation. We want this sorting, because we've got two direct contradictions. We've got his support for the megalomaniacs at Davos, who've got central bank digital currencies. You've covered it on so many shows. You know what's coming, and you've discussed with William the importance of our common law constitution. So something's got to give.
Presumably, all of this, the oath and things like this, it really has nothing to do with the government of the day or anything like that, because he's above the government.
He's above the government. He's the first. He's a sovereign like us. We're all sovereigns.
Yes.
And he is a first among equals, and we must always remember that. We have selected him or chosen him to be our first among equals. Now, some people may say we haven't chosen him, and maybe in the future there should be perhaps a plebiscite or something like that, as in the case of King Haakon VII of Norway, who I'm particularly a fan of. And if people look up King Haakon VII of Norway, he reigned from 1905 in Norway to I think it's about 1951 or 52 or something like that. But the important thing is, King Charles III is there to protect his people.
And we are his people. Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
And you were talking the other day with Edward Fitzgerald, I believe, about King Charles.
Yes.
And one of the subjects that came up was the question of the royal assent, when the monarch adds their signature to a statute, their providing their royal assent. And Queen Anne added her assent, and she was not the last monarch to do so. The last monarch that I'm aware who did that was actually Edward VII, who refused to add his assent in 1909 to a statute that would have removed the veto from the House of Lords. And he refused to do that from Asquith's bill. And so Asquith had to go to the country for an election. He was actually voted back in. But before Edward VII could be faced with the same decision a second time, he passed away. He died.
Right. Yeah.
And various people have tried to find his death certificate and cause of death and have been unsuccessful in doing that. But anyway, that's the last known time that a monarch withdrew their royal assent. And some people might say, just as Justin said, that he was exercising his prerogative as a first amongst equals, protecting the rights of the people. He didn't think it would be in the people's interests, were the House of Lords to have the veto removed from them. And we've been talking about this, and it seems that there is actually a precedent in history that we could use. Justin said, we don't want bloodshed, we want peace. And if we go back to the 1680s, of course, that was the time of the so-called bloodless revolution, largely bloodless. And in when William and Mary took the throne away from the last Stuart king, James II, they actually signed a declaration, actually putting down their intent in this declaration. And so the Hardwicke Alliance is suggesting that maybe this is something that we could bring to the fore again. Why not have another declaration, signed this time by King Charles III, as Justin said, in which he retracts his earlier loyalty to this overseas power, unaccountable, unelected, of the World Economic Forum. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Justin.
No, I think you've summed it up very well. I mean, it is so. It is a massive constitutional crisis we're faced with. I mean, it's black and white. There's no grey area here. There's only a razor blade between tyranny and freedom.
I think people are beginning to sort of see that now, aren't they? As it's moved forward to him taking the coronation and becoming a king in everything, that people have known his old ideas, and even when he had his old ideas as Prince Charles, people were sort of going, oh, he's a bit outspoken about certain things, and people, I think, have been somewhat concerned, and clearly for him, it's going to be so beneficial for him as the king for however long he's going to be the monarch, and I know he's getting on a bit, bless him, is to make it absolutely clear to his people, to the subjects, to us as sovereigns, exactly what he stands for, so that we know and clearly to do the right thing.
We know at the Hardwicke Alliance for Real Ecology that the king has been a champion for so many things we support.
Right.
The protection of rural communities and rural crafts, organic farming, alternatives to big pharma. There's an awful lot the king has been a champion for, and we totally applaud him for it.
Yes.
But
so it's only this one thing.
Yeah, he's been taken in by the climate change scam, which is very sad. So we've really got to get him, if you like, up to speed on that.
Yes. I mean, so many people have been taken in. It's been relentless, the propaganda.
I was taken in,
yeah,
and I've had to retract. I mean, when I think some of the things I used to say about that, I'm embarrassed. But hey, I've moved on.
Yeah.
Because I've gone where the truth is. I've gone where the evidence is, and I can now see how this whole big plan is unfolding. The Great Reset. We can see how it's unfolding. So I've made mistakes. I've had to go do a U-turn and go back down the cul-de-sac. So we've people who are thinking that climate change is real have got to just bite the bullet and realize they're batting the wrong. I'm mixing all my metaphors. You can
Yes,
tell.
they're all on the wrong side of history. We've
and
got more time than
Exactly.
everybody
We've got to be on the right side of history, and we want to get our king onto the right side of history.
And that's all it's been about, this conversation, critical thinking, asking questions.
Yeah.
I've got a little thing to put up here before we go, because this is something that, let me just get onto this screen, and where is the little link here? Is that it? Yeah, here we go. You do a thing called Learning Holidays, Questioning Science, which is, a lot of what you do. And you've got this holiday, if you're into this sort of thing, from the 16th to the 20th of August this year in the Peak District. It says here cutting edge speakers on the 18th to the 20th of August take you beyond mainstream science and explore the hidden history of the Industrial Revolution with like-minded people. And so you do that, and you've got lots of interesting people there. Gloria's there, look, chatting away, which would be fantastic. So that's all that this has been. It's just an extension, really, of what you at the Hardwick Alliance for Real Ecology do, is ask questions and put forward a bit of critical thinking when it comes to things like something so important like the King's Oath, which will, of course, involve everyone.
Or indeed climate change.
Exactly.
And shall I just give an email for anybody who may be interested in that holiday? It's nice and simple. Learning holidays at protonmail.com.
I will put that in the description, of course, along with the link to the letter to the Duke of Norfolk and your article, which goes on about the various things that we've discussed. I will wind it up now, because we're getting it to about 40 minutes. We don't want to leave it too long. But I don't think there was anything we wanted to add to that, was there, Justin?
No, I think we've covered it all.
Thank
you very much, Richard.
Grand. Well, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon, Justin, and telling us all your point of view, obviously. And Gloria, thank you too.
Okay.
It's lovely to have you. And in fact, Gloria and I will be talking something about in a few weeks' time, won't we, on another subject. But there we go. And don't forget the book, I should say, Light Bulb Moments and the Power of Critical Thinking is still available from hang on, where is it? What's the name of the publisher, Gloria?
Truth University
That's
Press.
right.
And would
yes.
you mind if I give the email out again?
Yes, do.
If you'd like to buy direct from Truth University Press, then the email to write to is info Truth University, that's all one word, info Truth University at protonmail.com.
Fantastic. Brilliant. There we go. How about that? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. It's a fascinating subject, isn't it? It's going to affect everybody in the UK and of course, across the world. The King and how he takes his oath. And it'd be lovely to see that oath before it's taken, so that we can all just, mull it over and enjoy the moment. And that would be lovely. Big thanks to Justin and Gloria. I will be back again with more interesting interviews coming up. But until then, thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and all the usual stuff. But until the next one, from us all, goodbye.